The city of Toronto has now gone into balanced market territory. Sales volume is down. Inventory is up. Prices are up year over year. They're actually also up month over month. We got a lot to talk about. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tom Storey. I run a real estate team here in the city of Toronto. And if you watch this video and learn anything new today, all I ask is you hit that like button. And if you'd like to, hit that subscribe button and join our growing community. You can also go into the first link in the description, book a call directly with me or one of my team members at a time that works for you. The September numbers from the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board are officially out, and we have a ton to cover on today's video. I spent about an hour preparing for this video, putting graphs together for you, show you exactly what is going on and trying to make sense of all the craziness out there right now. And one thing that I want to address at the beginning of this video is that the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. Okay, so the numbers that come out that you're going to see in every single news headline, every post that you see on Twitter, for the most part, are pulling all the numbers from the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. That covers way more than just Toronto. And when I make videos, typically the market I'm talking about is the city of Toronto, because that's the market that I sell in. But when you hear the overall numbers, any other YouTube videos you're watching or the news headlines, just keep this in mind. It covers all these different markets, okay? Halton Region, Peel Region, City of Toronto, York Region, Durham Region, Dufferin County, and Simcoe County. I just wanted to make that clear off the bat that in today's video, I am covering the City of Toronto. I'm not covering the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board total market stats because that's not helpful if you live in the City of Toronto. I'm just covering the City of Toronto. We're going to jump into the numbers. I'm going to show you everything I would want to know if I was a homeowner or someone potentially looking to get into the market. Okay, we're going to start off with what the average sale price was in September. So detached properties are still over 1.7 million. Semis are just under 1.3 million. Townhouses are a shade under $1 million. And condos are $732,000 in the 416 area code. These are typically the numbers you're going to see reported in the news. I don't think these numbers are very helpful, so let's really jump through everything today. Okay, this is the year over year summary, and there's a few key numbers I want to point out here. Now, keep in mind, these numbers here I had to pull from the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, so this includes everything, not just the City of Toronto, but in a second, I'll get to the City of Toronto. If you look at sales volume, we had 4,642 sales. That is very, very low for a September fall market. Compared to last year, we were down 7.1% in sales volume. Now, if you look at new listings, we had 16,000 new listings. Last year, we only had 11,000 new listings. That's a 44% jump up. Now, the one thing I want to bring your attention to is the active listings. There's 18,912, okay? Last month, there was 15,000. The month before that, there was 15,000. So we have seen a jump up in active listings. This is the inventory that you're hearing about right now. Now, if that number pushes over 20,000, that's when we're going to approach buyer market territory. We're still fundamentally in a balanced market right now, but that's a 39% change year over year in active listings. Now, the average sale price year over year, this number frankly means nothing, but you're up 3% year over year to take all the properties in all the different areas and average them out, but is kind of interesting data. Now, I want to spend some time focusing in on the City of Toronto. So what we're looking at here is the average sale price for the City of Toronto for all of 2023. And you can see here, I've put where we saw rate hikes, and then the first rate hold was in March, and then obviously we saw another hold in April, and we saw a hold in September. But this is kind of how the year went. So to start the year, now keep in mind, this is just City of Toronto. We started the year under $1 million. Then we jumped up. We had pretty good price growth into May. Then it actually got to the top of this year in June. Technically, the overall market, May was the peak, but it looks like City of Toronto was June. Then we started dropping off in the summer on the back of those two 25-point rate hikes. Now, the main data point I was focused on for this video, and frankly, I was a little bit concerned about how it would impact the market, was that if you look back the last 10 to 15 years, the average sale price in September is typically always higher than August. Regardless of rate hikes and everything else going on, it's like August is the end of summer, it's a slow market, and September is the beginning of the fall, and usually things really pick up. If September was lower than August, that's where I would have come on here and said, listen, guys, like, we're not trending in a good direction here. Now, September was a lot higher than August across the board for the City of Toronto. So that does kind of show me that at least the market is behaving in the way that it typically does, and that we're not totally going down here, because prices didn't technically drop off month over month, even though they had been doing that 3 months prior. So that's the average sale price, and that's a decent data point. But the big one here, we talk about inventory levels. Now, I've talked about this a lot on this channel. There's a term that we use in real estate called months of inventory. Essentially, what you do at the end of every single month, you take the active listings that are on the market and you divide them by how many sales. Anything under that number 3 is technically a seller's market. 3 months is a typical seller's market. 2 months is a hot seller's market, and 1 month and below is complete insanity. Once you get to 4 months, to 5 months, that's a balanced out market. And once you push over 6 months of inventory, that's when you're in buyer's market territory. And that's when you see real pressure on prices going down. Kind of funny that it's called a buyer's market because it's the market where the buyers don't want to come out and play. But this is what's happened so far this year in 2023 in the city of Toronto for months of inventory. We started the year in January where there was still, a lot of question marks about what was going to happen on the heels of last year and everything. We saw the rate hike in January and inventory was fairly high, right? We were in balanced market territory to start the year. Sales volume was also really, really low. But then you can see in February, March, April, May, the inventory levels in the city of Toronto dropped below 2, especially in March, April, and May. Actually, technically in June as well. So that put us in seller's market territory. That's why for the first 5 months of the year, we saw a lot of price growth across the board because even though the interest rates were higher, there was still nothing to choose from. So there was still enough people on the demand side that could get into the market and didn't have a ton of options to choose from. And then you can see where the inventory changed here, right? So June, we had the rate hike. July, we had the rate hike. Inventory jumped up almost a full month of inventory from June to July, and then August as well. But look at September. September is the first time this year for the city of Toronto, the entire city for all property types, where the inventory levels have gone over 4. That puts us technically, if the interest rates weren't impacting things, it would put us in a period where prices would not go anywhere. They would just hover because there was equal supply and demand. But then you factor in all the things that are happening with the interest rates right now, and that's probably why now you're going to see pressure on prices. I'm not sure how October is going to play out here, but September was technically higher, but there's also, we built more inventory. We built almost 3,500 active listings more in September across the board for all of the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, and I'll show you what happened in the city of Toronto. So this is sales volume, and this is kind of an interesting graph as well. So you can see I put the rate hikes when they happened in there. This is just city of Toronto to start the year. We had, January was a very slow month, about 1,000 sales. Then you go to February, just under 2,000. Then you see it grew every single month. We kind of peaked out there in May because I think across the board that was the peak of the market. Then rate hike, and look at the sales volume. Now, here's something that we have to acknowledge. The September sales volume was lower than August. The prices were higher than August. In fact, in some asset classes, they weren't just a little bit higher, they were significantly higher. But the sales volume was lower, even though, if we go back to the last slide, let me just come back here, the inventory was higher. There was more to choose from, but less sold. And then the final chart that I want to show you, because I had done this in a previous video, I've been updating this every single month now. And I had a few conversations with condo investors recently, and they're like, okay, well, we're trying to figure out to pinpoint the time to get into the market. And what I had basically said to a lot of them is like, well, keep your eyes peeled for the September numbers, because if the September condo price numbers are lower than August, you're going to see a downward trend in the market. Now, that didn't happen, but they were up just a little bit. I think like less than $10,000. So kind of hovered for what was happening in August. Okay, I know that was me just looking at charts for a while. I hope you found that valuable. There's a few things that come to mind here. So across the city of Toronto, we're in balanced market territory. For the condo market, we are approaching, we're at the higher end of balanced market. We're not quite in buyer's market yet, but we're getting there. For freehold properties, we're actually still technically in some areas in seller's market territory. So like I've said many, many times, if you've watched these videos, what you're trying to do in this market depends specifically on the micro market. The interest rates are going to impact everybody in different ways. My interest rate is going up a full 1.5% next year based on when my renewal came up. And I didn't get one 5 years ago, so it wasn't super low, right? But it was still under 5. That's now something that I'm going to have to deal with. I'm okay with it, but there's a lot of people that are in my position that are maybe not going to be okay with it. And if they then put their properties on the market, and it's going to start with investment properties, that's when your inventory builds. And if we hit 20 to 25,000 active listings, it's going to be interesting to see what what happens with prices. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you learned anything new today, all I ask that you like and subscribe. My name is Tom Storey, and remember, home is where your story begins.